Shakespeare. Yes, that's Shakespeare. William Shakespeare. A playwright who has been dead for over 500 years. His works are being shoved down school children's throats every year. I was one of those school children. And as a school child, I did not understand why we had to learn about Shakespeare. The plays didn't make sense, there was no world building, and it was in English apparently. So I decided to ask the teacher in year 7, raised my hand and said, Miss, why are we learning about Shakespeare? The response I got, I was dissatisfied with. Because the response was, because he's a big deal. Okay, you've given me the answer to the equation, but how to get there was missing. I didn't like that answer, so I decided, I am not going to like Shakespeare. Nope. I dislike him, dislike his work. No. I found it difficult with Shakespeare because I like reading, yes, but Shakespeare just gave you the bare text and bones, enter here, exit there, and just text. I found that very hard to grasp and imagine as a child. Also, it was in English, apparently. Ask, who speaks like this now? But soft, behold, lo, where it comes again. I'll cross it through it, blast me. Stay, illusion! If thou hast any sound or use of voice, speak to me. Nobody talks like that anymore. Goodness, no. Now, as time has gone on, as I've gotten older, and done my own research in my own time, my opinion of this fella has changed from dislike to appreciate. And it all started with a children's TV show. Ladies, gentlemen, others, that TV show was Horrible Histories from the UK, live action one. Amazing! So of course having that playing in the background, just bit of fun, bit of noise as you're working. And what came through was some of the Shakespeare skits. Watching them, I did not know that Shakespeare had made 1,700 new words. Prior to him, they were not used. He made new words for English. He created new English words. What? This evidence of Shakespeare making new words for the English language is not provided to me in school. I had to look at it myself. And this is what sparked my interest. I went, okay, so if he made new words and I didn't know about this, let's do some further investigation as to why Shakespeare was a big deal. All right, research is going on now with Shakespeare, and I decided to start where he was and the time he was in. He was in the UK, of course, and time was the Elizabethan period, the late 1500s. Now, when I look back there, his English was classified as early modern English. Before that, it was Middle English. And I wonder if he was part of that tip from the Middle English to early modern English. So I came to my realization that Shakespeare, doing what he did, was an unintentional record keeper of the English language of his time. Check that out. Let's take a quick example, just a small snippet. A Midsummer Night's Dream, Act 2, Scene 1 from Demetrius. I love thee not, therefore pursue me not. Where is Lysander and fair Hermia? That's a small one, that's easy. When you get to the soliloquies, it takes more breakdown. But that's easy, simple, and easy to understand. Of course, I'm not in school being pressured by a teacher, so I feel much more relaxed reading Shakespeare now. But when you look at something from just beforehand, the Middle English, like 1485, the Legend of King Arthur, where we get that text from, here's a snippet of that English. So it fell in a time King Arthur said unto Merlin, my barons will let me have no rest, but needs I must take a wife, and I will none take, but by thy counsel and by thine adieus. It is well done, said Merlin, that ye take a wife, for a man of your bounty and noblesse should not be without a wife. So thanks to Shakespeare, we're seeing this jump from Middle English to what he was using, early modern English, to what we now use today. Shakespeare was a record keeper of the English language. How about that? Shakespeare could not have been the only playwright in his day. Come on now, there must have been some competition until Shakespeare showed up. I did find one fella that kind of stood out. A gentleman called Christopher Marlowe. He wrote a play called Tamburlaine, and it was considered the first public popular play. Okay, cool. But how come we don't really hear about him as much? From my research, it seemed that playwrights had their genre and stuck to it. They did not deviate from what they knew. well, anyone familiar with any of Shakespeare's works know that he did a lot. He did not stick to one genre. He went out and branched. What, A Midsummer Night's Dream, that's the biggest comedy. Romeo and Juliet, yes, that's the biggest romance one, but come on, what about Taming of the Shrew? That's a fun play too. Richard III, yes, historically inaccurate, but where's the fun in that? So I think people at the time were just shocked that this gentleman writing all these wonderful plays was not sticking to one genre. They were keeping his audience on the edge, I suppose. And I think that his hype back in that day has carried on and just kept his works alive and moving. And we're still performing, we're still listening, we're still learning from Shakespeare today. Gotta have a couple. Yum. Next point, this one, kind of leads on from the previous one, because we know that Shakespeare, he didn't stick to one genre, he branched out. When I was researching this, I came across an idea that I didn't think about before, how Shakespeare posed some philosophical ideas in a new way to his audience. And I went, did he? Because remember, I didn't really pay attention in school once I made that decision here. So I had to reread some things, do a couple more redos and my own research. And I think that point is correct. I looked at plays just before his time to see, okay, if you're posing challenging questions to an audience, how would that come across? And what I found before his time, it was a lot of morality plays. A lot. The Summoning of Everyman, Castle of Perseverance, and The Pride of Life. But they were quite dry. I am familiar with The Summoning of Everyman, and that, there is no sauce there. It's just, do good, so when you go to heaven, you might be let in. If you do read The Summoning of Everyman, just read the introduction. That's what the play is. And that's the whole play. Just, okay. Very dry. But Shakespeare's ideas had a bit more sauce, had a bit more meat to them. And it kind of makes sense, really. Because the Black Plague had ravaged Europe. Not just the UK, Europe at this point. And I think when he was alive, there was another bout of the Black Plague that just, of course, wipes people out. So it's kind of at the forefront of people's minds. Sound familiar? Soliloquies. That's the best example I can think about where Shakespeare really put those ideas out because it was one person spilling them out. Hamlet. To be or not to be? That is the question. What is that talk really about? Macbeth's soliloquy. Is this the dagger which I see before me? Ooh. Oh, and of course the other one from Macbeth. Tomorrow, tomorrow, or tomorrow. Excuse me. Tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow. Those are all quite good. Exploring these ideas without saying, this is what I want from you. You must do good, or else you won't make it into heaven. Huh! Donate to the church. We're talking about Shakespeare today. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Shakespeare. I'm not an English teacher, but if a child came up to me and asked the same question I had many, many moons ago, saying, excuse me, why do we learn about Shakespeare? My response would be, we're learning about Shakespeare because he is an English language inventor. He made all these new words. So he might help you make some new words or add more vocabulary to the English language we use now. Shakespeare was also a historian of the English language. So we're going to learn about him to see what we used to use and what we use now. The progression of our language. Ooh. And also, thirdly, his soliloquies are not that easy to dissect. So we're going to use his plays, his works, to read and critically think about what's being put in front of you. Man, I wish my teacher would have said that. That would have made English so much easier. I like knowing the method to the answer. Not just, here's the answer. But how did you get there? Anyway, off topic there. So, for my little journey here, from high school to now 32 years of age, I appreciate Shakespeare. Don't like his stuff, but I appreciate his works. And I appreciate his contribution to the wonderful English language. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.